Okay, we are recording. So let me tell you about the project in detail. I'm doing my final project in my master's degree at Northern Arizona University with a major in rhetorical writing and digital media. I chose an interdisciplinary focus, the study of the documentary Cowspiracy and its effectiveness as a model for behavior change towards environmental sustainability, and how it can be used as a tool for teaching media literacy. So, before I begin, I want to ask for your permission to record this Skype interview, and also your consent to upload this interview onto a website. The website will have a password which will be shared with the Graduate Studies Committee, fellow students, and other people who I do interviews with. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's get to the questions, and please feel free to say whatever you'd like. I have the 4 questions that I've already given to you, and you've had a chance to think about a little bit. So, shall we begin?
Sure.
Tell me about yourself.
I grew up in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the city, but I was kind of, I guess you could say, my mother was like almost like a kind of farm mentality. We always had a lot of animals growing up. We had a lot of dogs, cats, birds. I had a horse. And then I have 2 brothers and my father. My father passed away when I was early from diabetes and cancer, and he was a heavy smoker. And what else? I went to Korea when I was about 25, and then I've lived in Asia since then. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Since then, yeah.
And you and I met as teachers in Seoul.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, we've known each other for a while.
Yep.
Great, that sounds good. Ready for question 2?
Sure.
Okay, so question 2 is a general question. What did you think of the documentary Cowspiracy?
It took me a while to watch it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It took me a while to watch it. But what I liked about it is it starts getting into statistics right away.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when I watch documentaries with statistics, I automatically am kind of like, well, where did those statistics come from? Are they accurate? But actually, when I looked into those statistics, they are maybe a little bit off sometimes, but in general, they're not off by much. So he did a lot of extensive research, and from my experience with kind of statistics about or documentaries about sustainability or food or what we eat, I tend to get an overall negative feeling at the end of the documentary, kind of like very overwhelmed.
Yes.
But I feel like Cowspiracy finishes on a positive note. It's not your typical documentary where it doesn't actually offer solutions or show you how easy it is to change the problem that we're facing. So I felt very positive at the end of Cowspiracy. I felt informed and I felt positive.
I totally agree. I think that's why I chose it for this project, and I think the way that it educates people is first through logic, whereas some of the other documentaries on this issue sometimes I think appealing through emotion is important, but it can be overwhelming if that is the first way. So interesting you thought the same as I did on that.
There's definitely parts in it that you look away and you're like, oh, this is too hard to watch. but it's not as shocking as other documentaries that are out there. Yeah. And I think for that reason, people are more open to watch it.
Are you talking about when he visits the person who decides to grow their own animals for meat and kills the duck?
Yes, yeah. And also when he visits the organic milking farm. And you see the typical, life cycle of a poor cow.
Yeah.
No matter where it goes, in that milking industry, whether it is organic or not, that cow is still going to end up on the plate.
Yeah,
and it's quite sad, because to me, when I thought about organic, I for some reason I think that it's like a farm with cows on the hills with grass, but it's not. It's actually no different. It's no different to a cow that's fed grain. Mm-hmm. So it's still kept in a very small space. It's still artificially fertilized. It still has its young ripped from it. It still has a milk production that expires the cow's life very early.
Yeah, I believe
it fails, and that was hard to watch, because it's not a nice ending for the poor cow or the calf.
That's true.
Or the male. Or I think that being a dairy cow is worse than being a meat cow.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not something that people think about easily, and this information isn't readily out there in the media or in our life or really in the education system. So I found when I was watching the documentary at first, it was a lot to take in, but I did really like how the documentary would kind of slowly go through different particular issues and really focus your attention on what it wanted us to think about. And also, like, they were showing us the dairy industry, not just to show us how the cows were treated, but also they really focused on the sustainability questions. Like, if everyone wants to consume this, do we have enough space to make,
Right.
Yeah.
And the answer is absolutely
not. Yeah,
of course.
And I think I have to check where I read it, but dairy cows should live about 20 years, but they live about 3, so that is quite disturbing as well.
So I think the other thing that really surprised me was the dead zones that come from the agriculture industry. That was totally new for me to be educated in. I didn't even think about how, the dairy industry or the agricultural industry is affecting the sea. You don't think about the ripple effect of how far it actually is causing a problem on our Earth.
Yeah.
It's quite devastating.
Yeah, according to this documentary, and the facts generally back it up, is that it's a panacea of causes of almost all of our environmental problems. It's not like this is the only answer, but it's such a huge part of the answer, I think, including rainforest depletion, greenhouse gases, carbon, species extinction, and what was the other one? Also, like world hunger, just distribution of resources on the planet. Yeah, I really loved how he put it in perspective and put it in through the lens of his own personal journey, discovering the facts himself.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing that shocked me was the amount of water that it takes to produce a pound of beef.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't think about the corn that and all the soy that we have to grow to feed the animals, and ultimately, it's not the amount of humans that are on the planet that is the issue. It's the amount of animals that are on the planet to feed the humans.
Exactly.
And the amount of land we need to feed those animals.
Yes, right.
To grow their food, to supply them food with as well. So it's just massive. It's massive. And how much we're consuming, how much space we're actually consuming now of the earth, and also even the ripple effect down to wild animals.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's devastating.
Yeah, I think in the video he says that one hamburger is equivalent to 2 months of taking a shower in terms of water consumption.
Right.
One thing.
I mean, that's assuming we're taking a very short shower too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about that before, how we were both really identifying with looking for answers to the environmental problem and turning off lights and taking shorter showers and trying to take public transportation instead of driving everywhere and doing these things. I really identified with, I remember you mentioning too, I'm doing everything I can, but it's still not enough. So in this film, it shows that we can do something that actually will curb the direction we're in.
Right.
According to the research, and I've been looking up the research, that a lot of the facts that they have on the Cowspiracy fact site are on the conservative side, actually. But
yes.
I'm not claiming to be a climate expert, but I think we need to draw attention to this matter so more academics and more experts will be looking at it and getting the information out there where people can absorb it, I hope. So it's a question of environment, but also media is supremely important in this whole issue.
It's a very dangerous topic to touch.
As they show
because
in the
repercussions are very high.
Right.
So,
can you explain more what you mean by that?
Well, I mean by the fact that it's I don't want to get in trouble, but
you don't have to say anything you don't want to, but yeah. Well,
you know, there is a man that is interviewed that appeared on the Oprah show that openly talked about the industry and you know what it was actually doing to our environment, and it seems as though throughout the whole documentary he was really struggling to get people who would actually come up and speak about the real causes of what's causing global warming. And obviously people don't want to talk about it because there are legal repercussions within the states of addressing the issues. So it's a very sensitive matter, and it's quite scary.
And the filmmakers did say that. And I think it was the cattle rancher who decided to become vegan, who was the one who had the issue with Oprah. And yeah, in America, it goes against, like, the agriculture industry has managed to pass laws where people can't, it's a defamation claim. Mm-hmm. So if they're losing money or losing...
also look Brazilian rainforests as well in the section of the documentary where people that were standing up trying to protect the rainforests were, I think it was something like 1,100 people were actually murdered who were open activists against the agricultural industry, especially the beef industry. And they wound up dead. So I think that's why it's such a sensitive issue.
Right. And we can say, well, that's Brazil, that's South American culture or matters, but it's kind of, you know what it reminded me was when there was, we live in this part of Asia and people were talking about the nuclear meltdown in Japan after the tsunami. And I remember people saying, is it Japan's problem? Because it's actually affecting the oceans all over the world. It's not like the water just stays in Japan. And it's the same thing with the rainforest because they do affect the oxygen content on the whole planet. And a lot of the destruction of the rainforest isn't just for beef, but soy, which is to feed the beef all around the world. So how can we intervene? This is such a complex matter, getting into international laws and everything like that.
Complex but simple solution.
Well, it is a simple solution. It's on our plates, but
well,
I'm
it's
really
a behavioral change.
Yeah, I'm interested in
really hard and threatening.
How to get that going, which brings us to question 3. Is it okay to go there? Did Cowspiracy, watching this documentary, influence your attitudes or habits? And I do mean more towards dietary habits. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. I can say that I will not touch beef. they absolutely will not touch it. And I know there's other farms and there's dairy farming. I'm not 100% vegan yet, but after watching the documentary and being pregnant and being a life into this world, I want to make sure that there's something left for my son to actually see. And I think that it made me more conscious of not just eating another sentient being, but the damage that my dietary habit is actually having on the environment. And I think people think that the problem is so big, what can I possibly do about it? But actually, we have a lot of power.
For sure. Just
by choosing where we spend our money and who we give it to. And not only that, I think towards the end of the documentary, there's a man who actually talks about cow milk.
Cow milk,
and
yes.
Cow milk. And, and he puts it out there so strongly and so clearly, we are not baby cows. And, it made me think, well, yeah, every other species out there drinks breast milk from its own mother till it is big enough, and then it switches to water.
That's true. I've heard the counter argument for that one. Oh, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
It's just, it's just, well, we should just be drinking water. Really. I mean, if we want to follow the rest of the species on Earth that are much healthier than humans are.
Humans do a lot of strange things.
Drinking water, really. I mean, that's all we really need. Yeah. So it made me think about what baby calf milk is actually doing to my body. And, I used to get quite a lot of sinus problems and blocked up, and since I've stopped, I can feel the difference. Yeah. I also saw the difference in my skin.
For sure. Yeah, you look great. I recommended to my father, he was having recurring sinus problems that were causing migraines, and I suggested to him that he try cutting out the dairy, and it helped. So he was going back to the doctor again and again to take medication, but now he doesn't have to. So when you're talking about that, I thought of how, cow's milk is designed to make a small cow grow into, a full-grown adult in a really short amount of time, so it's not really meant for human bodies, in my opinion. But I've heard people argue against that and say, oh, well, yes, humans drink the milk of other species, but humans also make airplanes and fly to space and do a lot of amazing things. So what do you think when people have that counter-argument, oh, we are an exceptional species on the planet, so we can, make
well,
exceptions.
Therefore, we should be able to put two and two together and realize the damage that it's doing on the environment and see that it's not sustainable. I mean, if we can put rockets in the sky, why can't we see this? And I think it is for the simple fact that it is not readily available. The information is not readily available. It is not put in front of our faces. And even from a young age, we're taught about the food pyramid in school. And it's almost like a brainwashing at a young age. And, I often wonder who created that food pyramid, who sponsored it to go into the education system, who pushes it, who pushes milk in school. Of course, it's the companies.
Of course. In Australia...
Because it's all about the dollar. No one really cares about our health.
Well, I hope some people care. In Australia, did you have those posters with, the milk mustache with famous people that said, "Got milk"?
Oh, look, we've still got milk commercials going on. Yeah. A lot of Australians, though, are from being back here, even on Sunrise TV, on the cooking shows, they're now substituting milk with or recipes or cooking shows, when they're using milk, they're substituting it with almond milk, rice milk, coconut milk, soy milk. So, there's many other options that you can cook with. And I find that, when I went to the supermarket after being back in Asia, the milk section is massive. I cannot believe how many different types are there. But what was encouraging is when you go into the actual dry food aisle, not the cold section, and you see the amount of almond milk, soy milk, rice milk, coconut milk. It's just
there's so many choices. You
were
raving about that, and lots of other vegan food options, right? Like meat, mock meats, and restaurants.
And I know people will say, "Oh, well, almond cheese also requires a lot of water."
Mm-hmm. Okay,
yes, but almond trees don't poo, and the poo doesn't wash into the ocean and create dead zones, and if you minus the cow and just grow the food for the people, we have enough.
Right. I'd like to move to the next question, which you've touched on a little bit, which is kind of along the lines of what can we do? My question is, how can this documentary, Cowspiracy, best be used as an educational tool inside or outside the classroom? So what strategies would you suggest?
Actually, I have used it inside the classroom already, so I can give you an example of my own use of the documentary. As you know, I'm a professor at Sokyong University. Mm-hmm. Couldn't really say I'm a professor, more like an English assistant. Yeah. And one of our writing tasks that we had recently was to write about global warming. And what surprised me is when I opened up the book and looked at the sample answer in the teacher's guide, and it was a 150-word essay. It was a very short essay, but even the teacher's answer didn't even touch. It was about cars and transport and turning off water, conserving water. It was all of the things that, was at the beginning of Cowspiracy. Mm-hmm. And so what I did is I got them to write the essay based on, the sample answer. Then I showed them the documentary, and I asked them to write it again. And it really did get through. So they were writing more about changing your diet to foods that are more sustainable and that are more environmentally friendly. So I don't think that had they have watched that documentary, they ever would have thought about answering that question, talking about the agricultural industry and the damages that it's having, or the effect that it's having on the environment.
If they hadn't watched it?
They had not watched it. Right. So they actually answered the question first, and we went, through the sample answer, and they answered it. Then I showed them the documentary, and I said, okay, now I want you to go back, and I would like you to answer that question again. And it was quite different. It was quite different. I didn't get many people talking about transport as a major cause of global warming. They were all talking about the agricultural industry, and they were in shock. And, as you know, Asia is becoming a meat-eating society.
Yes.
It is in every street. There is at least 2 or 3 meat-eating restaurants, Korean barbecue. Mm. It's just everywhere, whether it's a chicken hock or if it's a steakhouse, or it's just,
I know. In the study that I sent you a link, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. It's a Chatham House study, and that is one of the major sources of concern is what happens. And they mentioned this in the documentary too. If China decides to consume meat at the rate that America does. That question was in the documentary, and I believe he said, we need another world if that happens. We just simply don't have enough resources on the planet to do that. So I'm really interested in how we can spread the message about this, that reducing animal agriculture and consumption of animal agriculture can help. But through other channels, we have to also consider that there are people in other languages and other cultures that maybe haven't even heard of this concept yet. So
documentaries are a good way to start, for sure. Getting people to watch the documentary is part of the problem,
and,
because
yeah, you've been doing that with friends, right? Can you tell me, how did that go?
I have asked some people to watch it.
Yeah.
I tried to get my husband to watch it, but it didn't have the Korean subtitles, so he kind of phased out.
You can get it on Netflix now with Korean subtitles, though.
Right, I don't have Netflix.
You can get a free account.
I mean, I really wish he would put his energy into now getting those subtitles put into the documentary and out there on YouTube, now that the documentary is available for free.
I think it's been updated. At least I downloaded Netflix, and the documentary is available with Korean and many other subtitles here, but I'm not sure if Netflix is the same in Australia, if you can get that. Oh, hi, doggy. Yeah, but that is for sure an important thing, and I know they're making a second documentary, and they're doing fundraising to try to get more translations available. I think that's essential.
Right.
What about...
I would like to see Cowspiracy I would have liked to have seen it in theatres.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it would have been great. I mean, right now we are having this mass launch of Zoolander 2 in Australia, and I think, wow, imagine if they did that kind of media promotion for a documentary like Cowspiracy, how many people would walk away with a little bit more awareness. I imagine that the government wouldn't be too impressed with that, because it would affect the economy. So I can see why that has never happened.
Well, in the Chatham House study...
So I think, outside of the classroom, it's up to individuals to... Word of mouth is one of the best ways to get someone into something new, or to try something new, or to watch something new. So I think those people out there that have watched it, that really do care, should be spreading it by word of mouth. That's our responsibility.
Absolutely. Do you have any other suggestions? Maybe this is a good point to interject about exactly what media literacy is. So, according to the definition of media literacy is the ability for people to read media and to ask critical questions about something they see. For example, advertisements or movies or any kind of media. So they should ask questions like, who created this message? And for what purpose did they create this message? And how will this message be seen differently by different people? So basically, critical analysis of the message. And the best way to teach media literacy is to include a component where a person is actually creating their own media literacy. And I think or their own media, sorry. And I think that enables them to get behind the camera or whatever tool that they use and realize that what they see is a constructed image that has been made by someone for some reason, with an agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at different ways to bring that into a classroom, or even just as having it at events or filtering it into the media. So I'm curious if you have any ideas about good ways to do that.
In particular relation to Cowspiracy, or in relation to any topic?
Well, to use Cowspiracy to teach media literacy. You already did it in the classroom, right? So you showed the documentary, you had them doing critical thinking questions and doing a writing exercise based on that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good place to start.
For sure.
In the classroom, and I think it's also your age that you are targeting. I don't think that documentary is too difficult for even kids as young as 13.
Mm-hmm.
It's not violently graphic, graphically violent or anything like that. So I think that this documentary could even be put into some sort of studies in a high school.
Yeah.
I think high school teachers should be using it.
And maybe university,
college. I think it's a great documentary to get people to go out and make their own little video about what they think.
Yeah.
So
maybe documentary or like response videos to the documentary. I would love to make a class like that. Do you think it's possible to make a class like that at, is it Sukkyong University, right? Where the kids will make their own media?
Given for me, I am restricted to what I can teach now because a lot of universities are saying IELTS or now they're pushing more towards international testing and reading, writing, the full package. So with the right program, of course you can be creative and sneak this documentary in. But you have to be very careful as well because it does challenge people's habits, and students are sensitive, and people are people are sensitive, and you don't know how they're going to respond to what you're doing. And ultimately, when you challenge somebody's behaviour, it's not always a positive result. It can be a negative result. And as a teacher, you have to be very aware and very careful of that. So how you present the project, you have to be very careful that you don't have an agenda in the classroom.
Oh, that's a great point. Make sure, check our own agendas in the media.
Because it could get you in trouble. Could lose you your job.
Yeah, curriculum, following the curriculum, and pressure for test prep classes. I think teachers around the world face similar constrictions when they're trying to get quality instruction into the classroom using issues that matter in the world. Well, the time is almost up for today. Is there anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap it up?
Just, I hope people do watch the documentary and decide for themselves what they feel about that. I do feel like he has a very important agenda in the documentary. And I think the most positive thing is that he really does show you how simple the solution is at the end of the video and how many people are making that change. And I think it's motivating. So
absolutely.
I can't say anything negative about the movie or the documentary, really. I can't. So it's not your typical documentary, that's for sure. I was very impressed.
Does it make you want to make a movie or a documentary?
What it did make me want to do is it made me want to, after I watched it, I thought, I'll go home and I'll put everyone on my house onto a vegan recipe, and I'll cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and for them, and I'll record kind of like a book, like a diary, like how do you feel, just a simple circle, like 4-question circle. And I thought then at the end I'll video how they feel at the end of the month, and I'll release it. And all very well and said, but eating vegan is expensive. Learning how to cook vegan and not deprive yourself of nutrients takes time. And I need that time to still learn about it. And also, it's expensive to eat healthy. If you want organic, healthy food, you better pay the price. And
but that's kind of a different issue.
I couldn't get them to commit. I couldn't get them to commit to it.
Yeah.
I don't even think it would just no way. So,
well, I find people have to be ready. There's like resistance versus receptivity in people who are ready to make changes. Did you have resistance yourself?
After I watched that documentary, that was my brilliant idea. And,
okay.
And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be great if I could do that? But getting people to do it is, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Well, maybe you can do it, but you have to get different people. Are you talking about your family?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed in my research is the younger generations are adopting vegan or vegetarian diets more easily than older generations. I'm curious if it has to do also with their ability to work with media and get information. That's something that I'm going to be looking at.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I noticed as well since being back here in Australia is that there are things like Light and Easy and Weight Watchers and ketosis, and there are a lot of diets that will help you lose weight, and they deliver to your door packaged meals. Mm-hmm. And one thing I noticed in Korea, in Seoul, is there is a lady that is doing packaged vegan meals. There's a company that is doing packaged vegetarian meals. And you can go and basically pick up your whole week's food, because she is a nutritionalist and she makes sure that you're getting all your nutritional needs in one meal in the day. And I notice that's happening here as well. So there are more and more, weight loss companies and companies producing vegan food, and they deliver packaged meals to your door. And I think the dangerous thing about becoming vegan is not for everything that you take out of your diet, you have to put back in with another substitute. And I think that's why most people don't last on it. Most people just don't last.
Well,
they get tired, or they deprive themselves of iron, or they deprive themselves.
If you do research on the vegan diet, you can see that all the complete proteins and way more vitamins, like vegan food is more healthy, but people have to eat an adequate amount of the food, and sticking to whole foods is definitely a better way to go in any diet. So, yeah.
So I would say this: if there is one thing that comes out of this kind of documentary with an agenda, which is to show people about global warming and the issues, I think the follow-up documentary has to really be more on the solution of how to be a healthy vegan.
Yeah.
And, I think if you put them together as a package, then it certainly has a very powerful message.
Well,
education.
Yeah, they do on their website have some links to like a 30-day vegan challenge and some other things. And I mean, all the information is out there in the media. They are making a second documentary right now. Did you know about that?
Okay.
It's on the health
I,
industry. Yeah.
yeah.
But
I
I
can't wait
should.
to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, this video's come to about 40 minutes, so I think I should probably wrap it up pretty soon. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Belinda. It's really great. You offered so many wonderful insights, and it's good to talk to you.
All right.
Okay, so thank you very much, and we'll be in touch, and I'll let you know as this project goes and gets uploaded. I'll give you the password to the website. You can see your video and everyone else's video and take a look at the project.
And I will get my mum to watch the documentary if I can.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get her up there.
I would love that. I think I've got about almost 20 people on my list now. But
Excellent.
We'll see how I can get everyone on. It depends on schedules and stuff. But I would love for your mom to participate if she would like to.
We'll try.
Okay. Thank you. Have a great day. See you soon. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.